All right, cool. So this is the new call, the monthly data and marketing sync. We're just doing a quick round of introductions. I'll do a short version of the one that I did before we recorded the call. I'm Shane Rice. I work on the growth marketing team with Danielle. My team is focused on how we can increase organic reach with search, web analytics, and also conversion testing. That's one of the reasons why we are syncing with data specifically, because Google Analytics and some of the dashboards we're building there want to make sure we're syncing that and it's getting upstream to where it needs to go. So with that, I'll pass the intro on to, let's go with Becky.
Sorry, I was trying to take notes for you, Shane. Will you fill out the rest of your stuff in there while I'm doing this? I am Becky Rich. I'm on the growth marketing team, and right now I'm doing just getting the growth marketing team set up and the things that we need for our baseline, and then we'll be doing some strategy work with Danielle for what we're doing for the rest of the year. I will hand it over to Kathleen because she's next to me on this Zoom.
Hi, so I'm Kat. I'm one of the managers of data here at GitLab. I focus on data analytics. So I work closely with Rob, John, and in the past we've done some Google Analytics things with Shane Rice and Robert on other marketing initiatives. Sorry, I'm going to popcorn over to Danielle.
All right, I'm Danielle. I'm Senior Director of Growth Marketing. We're a new team. I think we're 5 weeks old at this point, but growth marketing is not new. It's just something we're putting a lot more focus on now. So I work closely with Shane and also very closely with the product growth team. So looking to create a more end-to-end story through data around what happens for people from first time they ever discover GitLab exists all the way to paying us $1 million a year. So really excited to work with this team to clarify that picture. Next up, Jonathan.
I'm Jonathan Crisati. I'm an outside contractor that just started essentially Monday, working closely with Danielle on strategy and kind of everything growth and marketing.
You want to nominate the next person, Jonathan?
How about Rob?
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, everybody, I'm Rob. I started 2 months ago, so I'm in 2 months and a week or 2 months and 2 weeks. Senior Director of Data and Analytics, so I'm responsible for our data program. I work with Kath and Justin, so data analytics and data engineering, work with John, and really just want to help our overall data acumen and maturity grow so that we can do things like reporting on customer activity, prospect activity, lead to cash, journey analytics, all of the great things that we know we want to do at GitLab. Happy to be here and with this team. Thanks for inviting me. I'll pass it to John.
Oh, hey. Yeah, I'm a data analyst under the data team, primarily focusing on marketing, but sometimes I also do some other cross-functional analysis with sales and finance. I'll pass it over to Robert.
I shall round this off. I'm Robert Conkey. I'm the marketing operations data analyst. I am the kind of orchestrator and brain behind the marketing metrics and marketing data analysis. I've been with GitLab for 1.5 years now and work closely with most of the people on this call to make sure that the data is either accurate with the data team's help or that the data that we're providing is what the teams want, following Shane and Danielle's suggestions.
Have to take myself off mute. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate the context. I know anybody watching the recording will appreciate that as well. So at this point, I thought it would be great for us just kind of talk about, where we can connect, where we may be missing connections now, how we can improve our ability to tell stories about what's going on with marketing with data. I don't really have much beyond that, just kind of as a talking point. But I can kind of start off. I think for me, the most exciting part of the last 6 months from a marketing and data perspective has been the fact that we are now moving data from GA, Google Analytics, to BigQuery into our data warehouse. And so I know Jean has done a lot of work on that, and I'm really excited to see where that can take us in the next 6 months. To give you some context on some other things we're working on in marketing, we're working on a Salesforce integration with Google Analytics 360, so that we can pass a client ID to Salesforce, and then have Salesforce sync activity back to that client ID to tell us things like, when a lead or when somebody that submits a form goes to an MQL to a sales accepted opportunity, and then attribute where that action is coming from. Is it a paid campaign? Is it organic? Some of those kind of questions we can start to answer directly in Google Analytics. I think once we have that in Google Analytics, it'll go into BigQuery, and that can be synced further upstream as we're doing with some of the data that's kind of the default to Google Analytics. So I'm going to pause there and just give everyone on the call an opportunity to share their thoughts on the process so far, or what that future may look like, and then we can also have some time to discuss the data team's kind of response to the last 6 months as far as that Google Analytics data specifically.
Hey Shane, quick comment. First, thanks for bringing that up. It's really enlightening to hear about the direction, some of the projects you're working on now around Google Analytics, and where you see the program moving in the next 6 months. We've just rolled out a template called Data Success Plan. And so I would like to create a data success plan working with you and your team to capture that information, to talk about the major objectives of the initiatives, where you want to be over the next 6 months to a year. Think about the major data structures and data models and reports that you would like to generate as a result of that. And then start to think about how we staff the program, like who does what? How do we make sure we're aligned on that, so that we actually have a way to meet the objectives with basically team capacity and team availability. So I will take that as an action to create. I've got it in a template in the data team managers project, so I'll do that today, and I'll share it with you both, and we can use that maybe to start documenting some of this direction and to use it again to align objectives with capacity.
That sounds amazing. I'm really excited to hear that. I can tell you from my perspective, just kind of really high level, I think for us, the biggest challenge right now is that so much of our data is constrained by cookie acceptance. And so, a lot of what we have is like, we're painting a picture, we get a good idea, but we're not going to have like that crystal clear pathway to know like deep down, like this is 100% accurate. And so hearing that is already integrated into the process of what we're going to be talking about, I'm really excited to hear that too.
Well, it's some documentation. It's not the solution. I know the solution is real customer 360. So we understand all of the major touch points our customers and prospects have from the time they first land on our website, or hear about us through social media, to the time they become a paying customer and use our products. But it's the start. It's a first good iterative start, just to help make sure this team aligns on that direction. The real hard part is actually bringing that plan to fruition.
Yeah, for sure. Robert, do you have anything to add to the marketing side of data? I know you've done some work in Google Analytics, but also really focused on Salesforce. Do you have anything you want to add or share in relation to that work over the last 6 months?
Just to tie into that is, once we know who the prospect is and they've converted from anonymous to known, the biggest contributor to mapping out their journey is the visible touch points within Salesforce. That is a continuously iterative process that I'm improving. I took over full administration recently and have been overhauling the system. There were lots of holes that were plugging. And my end goal and dream of that is to be able to map out every single interaction that every person has, from the moment that we know them to opportunity, close, and renewal, and get an accurate depiction of the full journey of each person individually, and then be able to roll that up and cohort it to see what the average different journey paths look like for our various personas, channels, et cetera, every different way that we can slice it. So having this GA data in is going to be a huge benefit to that, and then finding out how to tie that to visible attribution is going to be the next step, so that we can capture those as touch points and include that in our attribution modeling.
Robert, I love that. I would throw out an idea for this team to consider, which is as GitLab grows, as we continue to add customers, we're going to reach 2x the number of customers that we have today a year from now, and then 3x. And the data volumes are going to grow significantly. And we will likely find that there are constraints within Salesforce and the ability to do large scale management and reporting and analytics over this larger data space, including all of the usage data that we're starting to collect through telemetry and some of the growth initiatives. And that's really the strength of the enterprise data warehouse comes into play, because we can analyze millions and millions and millions of activity points using the power of that platform. So just an idea, as we start to think about solutioning, let's think maybe more broadly or more generically, or start to think about now what some of the constraints might be in our technology space today, so we can not necessarily solve those today, but be aware of them. So along the way, as we iterate through the solutions, we can follow that end game of being able to process millions and millions and millions of customers in the next year or next 2 years.
I love that idea, Rob, and would love to speak with you more about it specifically. My manager, Dara Ward, and I have discussed multiple times that the only path forward is to have a consolidated data warehouse that's external to any of the other systems, that is the hub for all of it and also normalizes the data, because Salesforce, Marketo, any specific platform is going to be overrun and bogged down, and is not a long-term solution for the growth that we as a company want to see.
Love it. We're aligned. Nice. Thank you.
Wanted to jump in here to go back to Robert, what you were describing around, once we know who these people are and understanding their journey, just to share with you that one thing that's been coming up for us a lot lately, I'm sure you work with the growth product team as well. And so there is an acquisition, piece of the product funnel that's like right where product and marketing touch each other. And so as they start to focus a lot more on conversion for GitLab.com for users to justify the expense of those users, we're starting to take a little more ownership of the acquisition piece, because obviously there's just a huge overlap there. We've had some challenges, and Shane knows way more about this than me, but I'm learning there's some challenges with our definitions around what conversion means and kind of stitching together your pre-conversion and post-conversion story. So like if I wanted to tell a story like, hey, the people who most successfully become free GitLab users and convert in the first 36 hours visited these 6 pages at some point in the last 6 months. Right now, it's pretty hard for me to stitch that story. I think there's some things we're going to do to try to approximate that. But just to make it very real, like that's the kind of story that would help us decide how to deploy resources in marketing around, what should we update? We have so many pages. How should we decide about freshness? So thinking about what you were saying, Rob, about volume of data, I want to make sure we have this great story about like, not only do we have this volume of data that we spend a lot of time and care to store and curate, but we're like pulling tons of value out of it. So we have this like very clear ROI story of like, wow, why is this effort worth it? Because we, moved IACV in a really meaningful way, or because we picked not just the top 10 most trafficked pages to improve, but like the top 10 most important pages to improve. We don't have a good way of seeing that today.
No, but what I'm going to do, Danielle, is answer your first open question with what is the dashboard, because I am trying to approximate that with as much of the data that we currently have, using our attribution model, which is a linear attribution model. And I'll happily debate anyone about attribution modeling, because I have some pretty strong opinions about why we moved to linear away from full path or W. On that page, now this is still a work in process. We're both trying to improve the data as well as validate some of the oddities within the data. But you'll scroll down, the third chart is a landing page chart that this is all based on
screen sharing, Robert, just for those who might not be able to get into it.
Yeah, let me go ahead and do that.
Thank you so much.
So this is our marketing linear attribution dashboard that Todd shares on the regular marketing meetings. Right now, we have 4 major charts that showcase by Salesforce campaign, marketing channel, which again is captured within Visible. And then the one I want to showcase right now is the landing pages. When a touch point is captured by Visible, it captures what landing page the person was on, as well as a referring page when available. And then using our attribution model, we see the number of touches that have happened. In this case, I have to unfortunately move Zoom out of the way for me, is after 2019. So it's the last 2 fiscal years. And then we have a weighted attribution of the dollar value of every opportunity that has interacted with a specific page. And essentially the linear model says, of these 16,454 touches, combine all of the opportunities IACV and divide it by this number, and that's the linear IACV of this page, that eventually you'll be able to see not just by touch, but weighted attribution of what pages are performing the best to create opportunities. Obviously, there's a couple holes in this, such as everybody's gonna, I mean, so many touches are gonna happen from our main page because they then go to somewhere where they submit a form, so it's captured there. But this is one of my goals, is providing you exactly what you're trying to ask for.
Yeah, I'm basically kind of freaking out here because this is amazing. Cool. I don't know that I've ever seen this before, but we can immediately do actionable things with this. So this just rocks. Thank you so much. What else have I not seen? Can I just have a tour?
You can set up some time with me. I can show you all the different models I've created as well as the plans I have for them.
And I'll record it. Or you want to come too?
I'll
Okay, I'll set it up with anybody who wants. That'll be so fun, Robert. Thank you. This is great.
So,
Well, I guess, can I verbalize my other question, Shane? Is that okay?
yeah, that's what I was going to do.
So on this question around product growth and marketing growth, kind of the conversion point and understanding the before and after, are there product growth dashboards that you also work on in this team that we can see, or should we be trying to integrate more with them? Like, one thing that's happened that's changed recently is I've become stable counterparts with Gila in the product growth org, and I want to make sure I'm supporting her. So I'm just kind of curious, is this the right group to talk to about that, or who could I talk to about that? Do they use the data team?
My understanding is that there are product growth dashboards within Sisense. I have not touched them. I don't know, Kat or John, if you guys have more insight to that. I definitely think, Danielle, that we want to make sure that they connect at some obvious point the same way marketing and sales try to. You need to have a little bit of overlap so that you can see where the path converges. I don't know if that's happened yet. Kat, do you know?
Rob, I do see that you're unmuted. Do you want to go first?
I was just going to say, I love the call out here. What we're missing as a team, as an organization, is that journey across our business. We don't do a great job of helping everybody understand what is possible today. It's on my roadmap to help solve for. So it's coming, and I can provide more thoughts around what that looks like. But let me go over to Kat, and she can talk specifics about what we are doing with growth.
So I'm glad you guys asked that question. That is actually one thing that Gila and Derek were interested in investigating, understanding, what are the terminologies we're using across sales, marketing, and product? How are we going to align first on terminology, and then making sure that we're always viewing the journey similarly, and if there are differences, making sure to call out those caveats. So there is an open issue for that. I'm happy to tag that in here. But yes, we work very closely with Gila. The product data analysts are Eli and Matthew. And so they work with Gila on growth initiatives.
I think what we could do maybe as a next meeting, is this a weekly meeting or bi-weekly meeting?
I think it's monthly.
Monthly? So by the next monthly meeting, the data team can come back to this team with more understanding of what our growth analytics capabilities are. And maybe we'll sprinkle in some other subject areas as well.
That sounds great. Yeah, and I think between now and then, we'll probably have some like tactical meetings with the right people. We'll figure out who they are for some things. So we should hopefully have things to report in as well from the marketing side of like what we've learned. But that's awesome. Yeah, we really want to be building a much more, our partnership with sales is pretty strong. I think our partnership with product could be better. That's one of our goals. Becky, I think you had the next question.
This is a really general question, and it's more for, because I have not found a single answer for this, but like, what is, or where does it sit for like the connection between data and research in general, and who tells that story within GitLab? Because there's a lot of, like, there's some research things that I have that I did before that were top of funnel, and there's things that, don't directly translate into data, but they are useful when somebody who knows what they're doing looks at everything together and tells that overall picture. So like, who is the best person to send those research reports to, or like what group?
I assume based on you saying top of funnel, it's marketing specific research.
Yeah, it's marketing specific research.
You can absolutely start with me. I know that we're in the process of hiring another data analyst to support me that'll be focused more on the top of funnel of marketing reporting, but for now, that would be me.
Okay,
And
that's
from
perfect.
there, we can connect and find out what other brains to bring in on the project.
Sure, that's great. I just want to make sure, like, if we're spending that money on that research and then I just have it and use it, but I don't send it to anybody else, it's kind of a waste. Cool, thank you.
Hey, Robert, on the note about hiring another analyst, is that an open rec now? Should I be referring folks your way?
Kat, can you speak to that? I've only been cursorily watching it.
Yeah, I know that Dara reached out to me, Danielle. I assumed that you knew about it, but yeah, there's the posting is live.
I figure if anybody in the company, this group probably knows a few people to refer. So, don't forget to send your friends our way.
All right. Well, do we have any other questions or items we want to discuss? We've only got a couple minutes left, so I want to make sure we take advantage of the time if we need it. All right. I'm going to take everybody staying on mute that we've covered it for today.
Thanks, Shane.
And we'll catch up next month. Thanks, y'all.
Nice
Thank
to
you.
see and meet
Good meeting
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.